Love is dead. So let's experience it vicariously through visual novels. We had a lot to deal with afterwards. I forgot what we were dealing with. Our first order of business was taking care of the many form folk Hanzo has abandoned. Yeah, Hanzo's the guy who were as limp as marionettes with broken strings. I was most worried about Mitsu, since Kuga had cut into her wooden tag. But apparently that had only been an illusion. Although, oh, cool. That's convenient. I thought they straight up killed Mitsu there. But apparently that was only been an illusion. Although it looked like he had, Mitsu actually wore hers around her wrists, so she was perfectly fine. Like the other form folk, however, it would be a while before she was in any state to talk. All we could do for her now was to keep an eye on her. Oh, I haven't seen that guy in a while. What voice? Okay. I don't remember what voice I gave him. I think, what the hell do you mean, Spirit Blightfall? Do you really expect me to believe something as fishy as that? What more can we say? It's the truth. Indeed, they don't seem to be deluded or telling some kind of absurd joke. Hanzo's abilities truly are remarkable. I've seen some people say some really bad things about Kenji, so I'm not too excited to go on his route, but yet I'm kind of curious. You don't think Hanzo might be lying about having godly powers? I knew this would be a big mess. After Yoichi and I brought Mitsu back to Otane, we went back to the base. An argument had broken out between everyone who accompanied Kuga back and Yabuta and Miyagi, who hadn't taken part in the battle. It's true, though. I can't believe he managed to possess another form folk and then turn himself into a Blightfall. We weren't able to kill the Blightfall in the Kamikiri case by slashing it, but only because we didn't know what its weak point was. In Hanzo's case, we couldn't destroy the object serving as his weak point because he had no true form. That would only injure the form folk he possessed. In other words, we have no way to purify or exterminate him. I'm sure your prayer powers go just in handy, Soup. Because that's the thing she can do, I guess. She can, like, freaking pray and, like, purify things with, like, the snow sacrament. I have the power of Jesus on my side. Japanese Jesus. That reminds me. You said the first time you and Genjuro ran into Hanzo, you found an unconscious form folk where his tracks suddenly left off, right? Oh, yeah. You're the form folk who works at the steam bun restaurant, aren't you? What? Is that you? Gen? How did I get here? I was just running to the restaurant. Yan. Sorry if I also made you guys yawn. Excuse me, but did anyone run over in this direction? Did you lose consciousness after he struck you, maybe? Did I? I don't remember anything after being at the restaurant. But maybe something did happen? I had a really nice dream. What was it about again? Maybe he was being possessed by Hanzo. Heck yeah, yeah. It's of the guy we are romancing this route, Kuga. Which immediately, I didn't really care for his design or anything at first, but he's kind of growing on me. Hanzo's tracks disappear because he ditched the body in order to run away. That makes a lot of sense. I wonder if Hanzo abandoned his temporary body when he stopped by Mitsu's. Also, how are you doing, Bombo? Welcome to the stream. And happy Valentine's Day to everyone. Fair enough. Same here. Making a oh my god, making a little crap ton of bees for Minecraft. Nice. Today I've been playing a lot of Rune Factory. He must have done it because one of the neighbor's servants was at Atone's house, and he possessed him instead. It may be lagging a server I'm playing on, but they don't need to know about it. Yeah, they don't need to know about that. What they don't know won't hurt them. Next, he targeted Mitsu herself. It's hard to say whether he kidnapped her, like the other foreign folk, or just took a long time possessing her at that point. Anyway, he probably completely possessed her by the time we got to his stronghold, the merchant's house. Perhaps there are requirements around possessing someone else's body. Which is why the tracks only come, never leave, eh? Not much we can do with that knowledge at this point. First and foremost, we need to think of a way to get rid of Hanzo. That is the soothsayer's jurisdiction. I can't say I'm jumping for joy having to come up with a strategy involving meeting with those unbearable bastards. Kyohiko Mitsushige, and I would take care of that part. The rest of you go back to your normal post and continue monitoring the form folk Hanzo was controlling. Genjuro, on the other hand, you're not to leave the base until this has been resolved. What? Kiyoshiro's orders startled me. Though matter of fact, Kiyoshiro's incredibly stern tone was a far cry from when he allowed us to take a litter to Hanzo's hideout. The base, sir? Right. There's a barrier around the base that prevents the Blightfall from breaking in. You're far less likely to be attacked by Hanzo here than in your home. Hey, Nova, how you doing? Happy Valentine's Day! You're not objecting, are you? We have nothing to gain from you being attacked by Hanzo right now. All driving him away will do is kill the form folk he possessed. Besides, on the off chance Hanzo does attack you, I highly suspect he'll be even more out of control. The wanted posters are glitchy on High on Life too? Fair enough. I don't even know what that game is. Exactly. He may behave himself after achieving his goal, but don't get your hopes up. The best we can hope for is that he'll get carried away and run wild. Precisely. Right now, right now, you should consider protecting yourself in order to help us solve the case. Aww. I understand. I originally wanted to go outside because I thought doing so will allow us to defeat Hanzo. If you say having me stay put is crucial to bringing him down, I have no objections. Kuga. As he put it himself, Kuga agreed with their instructions, and probably had no complaints of his own. Still, there was no doubt in my mind that Genjuro looked glum because he couldn't ask about, you know. But, like, isn't this Gengomon Akahori guy Hanzo's looking for your old owner? Your old owner, Genjuro? I can't fucking speak. Otaro? Kuga seemed concerned, but knew better than to ask because he was fully aware he shouldn't be looking into his past. I hadn't been sure whether to ask about it on Kuga's behalf or sweep it under the rug, but here was Otaro casually saying it out loud. Otaro, that's not something you should ask. Wait, really? But if we learn more, it might make fighting Hanzo a bit easier. Besides, Genjuro seems pretty curious. Hey, don't go around saying weird things like that. Genjuro will never be curious about his past. Never. We don't want to kill him. Are we done here? I'm beat. Gotta take a bath and head to Lord Miyagi, do you know the whole truth? Kuga had cut Yoichi off while he was in the middle of blatantly trying to end the conversation. He was trying to give you an out, man!
Genjuro.
I realize it's dangerous for me to know about my past, but if Hanzo really is seeking revenge on my owner, I vow to stop him, no matter what it takes. I'm more resolved than I ever been.
What are you talking about, Genjuro? We don't need to be resolved. It's a vessel's job to see things through, and either way, we be.
That's certainly true. Oops.
It's not worth hearing him out, Mitsushige. Besides, you ordered him to stay put at the base. Giving him the motivation not to would just complicate things.
Actually, Genjuro will just start saying nonsense again if he's kept in the dark about this.
What?
I know my subordinates better than anyone else, so I'm gonna tell him everything I know. Once I do, Kuga, don't stray from what you just said about stopping Hanzo no matter what it takes. Can you promise me you'll put your own safety first?
Sir, I'm very grateful. I'll keep my word. So it's kind of, I can't tell if it's too warm in here or too hot. I'm wearing a hoodie, but I know if I take off the hoodie, I'm gonna be too cold. Guess I should find like something lighter to put on top. Yeah. I'll keep my word.
Mitsuhige, how likely are you to change your behavior if Kiyohiko and I tell you... Mitsushige, how likely are you to change your behavior if Kiyohiko and I tell you off? 0 this time, but if you get me off, that'll be another story. I have a wife. Do as you like then. Just know that you bear all responsibility for this. Do you mind, Kiyohiko?
I'm leaving. The soothsayer thing alone has me depressed, but this...
Yabuta left the manor, grumbling to himself and not looking at either Kuga or Miyagi. Then Kiyoshiro turned towards Kuga and peered straight into his eyes. Stare.
Genjuro, don't ever forget what Mitsushige said.
Understood. Kiyoshiro seemed satisfied after hearing Kuga's response. He nodded and also followed Yabuta out of the door. This left Miyagi and the Castletown team, Kuga, Yoichi, and myself at the base. Not to mention the vessels from each team. Maybe we should go ahead and leave then? I didn't really want to hear about his past anyway. I just thought Kuga might feel better without us around. I figured that if Kuga had decided himself to hear what Miyagi had to say, we should probably leave him alone, but then...
You're leaving, Soup? I'm dying to hear this. I'm sure Genjuro doesn't mind. Flex.
Hello, Miss Moon Nexus too? Nexus, I don't know. But welcome, how are you doing, and happy Valentine's Day.
Sure Genjuro doesn't mind.
Not at all. If it'll make fighting Hanzo easier, as you mentioned earlier.
I don't really care either way. Doesn't change the fact that we gotta take down an oddball Blightfall like Hanzo.
But isn't that exactly why we should be gleaning any information we can? We got no idea where to find clues that would help us take him down.
I also know that people don't like Otaro for some reason, and I wonder why. Otaro was poking his nose into this like a curious bystander, but he was a vessel. He was probably only saying this as an attempt to find some way to make it useful to the mission. And Miyagi, what's he gonna do? Although he hadn't used these exact words when speaking earlier, Miyagi knew Kuga well from working alongside him for so long. Would he talk to Kuga alone or include the rest of us outsiders? I waited for his decision when...
Before we get into it, there was something I wanted to ask Kinji about. Do you mind?
Me? Regarding what?
What play are they performing at the Bunraku Puppet Theater? If I'm remembering correctly, isn't it?
Bunraku Puppet Theater. A play performing using puppets, where no actor gives a dramatic recitation accompanied by shamisen, whatever that is.
A tale of vengeance. Ah. In which case, allow me to join you. I have to once again refrain from carrying the litter, however.
What?
I'm too pretty to do stuff like that. I'll ruin my nails.
Hop, hop, hop. Their enthusiastic voices resonated through the entertainment district at sunset as they carried Kuga in the litter. I couldn't tell this afternoon because I was inside the litter, but now I could see how hard they're working, so she doesn't have to be inside with him this time. I walked alongside the litter with Miyagi and Kinji, since fewer people knew me here than in the entertainment district than in Castletown.
There's no other way to move Genjuro safely at the moment. I feel bad about putting them through this, though. I'm sure they're fine. Kunitaka's plenty strong. Tominari probably doesn't think anything of it. Notaro offered to do it himself. So I'm not needed. I don't have to dirty up my hands.
I take it Yoichi probably isn't okay then. Carrying the litter seemed to be quite an ordeal. Their shouts were beginning to sound pretty frantic. Beep! Mitsushi.
Oh, I'll have to compensate them for this later. We're almost there.
How are you gonna compensate that? I watched my first Joyuri puppet play after going to the Kabuki theater to visit Kinji. Inside the puppet theater was just as lively as the Kabuki performance had been.
Joruri originated in the Kansai era in the West. Small puppet theaters like this have popped up in Edo, creating competition for the city of Kabuki's actors.
Right, Joruri. All these hard fucking words is hard to say. God, and Kabuki have been friendly rivals. Joruri theaters now. It's hard to do. Joruri theaters now do Kabuki plays and Kabuki performances incorporating Joruri style singing. Woo! But now's not the time to be talking about that. Mitsushige, what in the world are we doing? We're going to talk about Genjuro's owner. Were we going to talk about Genjuro's owner? Seriously? That's what we're supposed to be doing, but Miyagi brought us all to the entertainment district to watch a play for some reason. Why am I here? However, Kuga, the person this all revolved around, was sitting in the dark, staring at the stage very seriously without any complaints. Could this be about his owner? Anyway, maybe I should take this seriously and watch? Might as well. Then the play began, which roughly went like this. The Ronin Gengomon Akahori... Oh, yep. Akahori's swordmanship was second to none. His adoptive father, Yukon Akahori, found his arrogance concerning. Yukon turned to Uemon Ishii, a man renowned for his good character, for his help in rectifying the Ronin's behavior. To test Gengomon's mettle, Uemon sent him back from whence he came. However, Gengomon didn't much care for this. Gengomon challenged Uemon to a duel and was beaten. Resentful about his loss, he ambushed Uemon on the street at night and killed him. Uemon, murdered out of undue hatred, left behind 4 sons. To avenge their loving father, his 2 oldest sons, Sanojo and Hikoshichi, challenged Gengomon to a duel. Alas, Gengomon beat them at their own game, and Sanojo breathed his last. Whatever. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Hiko managed to survive, only to be caught in a storm on his quest to chase down Gengomon and drowned. Rip. Despite being mere infants when their father was murdered, Genzo and his brother Hanzo... How convenient that there's a play about the current guy that's trying to kill us. Resolved to take matters into their own hands. After many trials and tribulations, the two of them finally succeed in killing Gengomon Akahori, avenging their father 29 years after his death. I sat in stunned silence, rooted to the spot as the curtains fell and the audience around us began to leave the tent. Was that? A tale of vengeance. It's based on an actual incident that happened 20-something years ago. Miyagi slowly began to speak. The entire Oniwaban honed in on the sound of Miyagi's voice after having paid attention to the puppet play. Many parts of it differ from reality, however. First, Uemon's youngest son, Hanzo, wasn't his actual son. He was a form folk. And about the ending, in real life, Hanzo and Genzo weren't able to defeat Gengomon. They were both killed just like their father. All anyone could talk about back then was how much of a shame it was that they were killed, since they wanted to avenge their father ever since they were little. Is that why Hanzo was like incorporeal? I don't know how to say the word. Incorporeal? The author of this, it was Ghost. The author of this play must have changed the details to something he thought would make the audience happier. Also, Gengomon was never depicted stealing a wakizashi in the play. That's only because the dead don't talk. The story reminds me of Yona of the Dawn. I can see that. I love Yona of the Dawn. It's been a while since I've watched the anime. I want to read the manga. But it's been a long time since I watched it.
And sir, you know this because...
Wait. No, his name is not Hanzo. It's like... Hack. His name is Hack.
Hack.
Hack. I was like trying to think of what the main guy's name is. I was like, is it? No, it's not Hanzo. Right. As you may have realized, the story depicts the connection between Genjuro's previous owner and Hanzo.
Hack.
Oh, nice.
Season 2, hell yeah. I'm gonna have to watch through it again before Season 2 gets released. Gengomon Akahori owned the object Genjuro was derived from. Kuga must have been prepared to hear this, since the moment he heard the name Tadamin Asuma leave Hanzo's lips. But his owner not only stole the precious object he came from, he killed the person who forged it. If I were in Kuga's shoes, I would have been praying there was some kind of mistake. But the truth had been forced onto him, and there was no way to hide him from it. You knew about this, Mitsushige? You know, ever since Hanzo showed up, called Genjuro Gengomon, and started trying to exact revenge on him. Knew this whole time, you bitch. Sorry. I knew how Genjuro's sword came into the shogunate's possession. I guess the rest at the moment I knew their names. I guess the rest when I heard their names, yeah. Huh, that explains what happened when we first talked to him about Hanzo. The color of Miyagi's emotional threads usually match what he said, but they've been a slightly different color then.
May I also ask how it did?
Kuga asked Miyagi quietly. He may have been quiet, but...
Hey, it's no problem. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Happy Valentine's Day.
Sir.
Oh wait, sir!
Right, I promise to tell you everything I know. You know how I mentioned that the incident was infamous because people felt bad Hanzo and his older brother were killed by Gengomon when trying to avenge their father? When people found out about the terrible things he'd done, they chased Gengomon out of the fief. What is that? He was living in. I guess it's something you live in. Unsure how to get by, he pawned the sword. What is that? I'm looking it up.
Fief. Fief. An estate of land, especially one held in condition of a feudal service.
Okay.
Thief. Thief. Yay!
Thief. He was living in. Unsure how to get by, he pawned the sword. Afterwards, he made a living as an umbrella vendor for a while before eventually succumbing to an illness.
I see. Very well then.
I don't think I gleaned any of that.
Kuga.
I was on edge while listening next to him.
I hope he's okay after hearing all that. I was concerned that he knew too much about his past now and worried because his past must have been a painful one for him to know. Miyagi seemed to feel the same way. I didn't even need to check his threads. I could tell by the look on his face.
I had no idea there was any truth to a tale of vengeance. Coming here was worth our time after all.
Doesn't seem like the kind of play you'll do over at Kikuria since the Onagata wouldn't really stand out. Although the entertainment district crew seemed as unbothered, or should I say, vessel-like as ever. Because their hearts sealed away and they don't have emotions.
Well, we all have similar origins. Genjuro's not special.
Right. Possibly even better.
Pretty much. Should have ended this conversation back at the base.
Guess Tojo and Yoichi are bothered by it too? Although Tominari appeared to simply be giving his thoughts. This may be the first time I ever seen vessels show concern for another vessel. I guess that's why Kuga's reacting a little bit differently than he did before. Days had gone by in a flash since Hanzo, now a spirit, disappeared without a trace. Hanzo was nowhere to be seen, but the only Waban spent every single day constantly assuming he might be somewhere nearby. I'm helping Hanzo! Oh, never let the likes of you people arrest me here! In a corner of Castle Town, a form folk who was caught in a net was shouting loudly.
Hey, Soup, hurry it up. You're holding us up.
Okay. At Yoichi's insistence, I touched the form folk as he frantically squirmed around after getting caught in the net. The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you. I prayed of Christ compels you. I prayed and prayed with all my heart that he'd go back to his old self, to free him from Hanzo's control. Then...
Yeah.
I could see in his face how he's brought back to his law-abiding self despite having hurled curses at us just moments before, his threads of fiery red. Phew! I was simultaneously relieved that I successfully managed to purify him, and also wondering how many people I performed the snow sacrament on today. The city of Edo was currently in uproar over the recent rash of form folk running rampant. Form folk who had been living completely ordinary lives suddenly went mad, demanding Genjuro to show himself. This was clearly Hanzo's doing. Form folk of all over Edo fell victim to it even faster than the kidnappings. With no idea what was happening, people were beginning to fear the form folk themselves.
Yet another day running around Edo done.
We have no choice. If they were locked up in jail, we wouldn't be able to perform the snow sacrament on them. Why not? Yeah, we gotta wrap this up before anyone else finds them. Why can't you perform the...
Okay. No, I'm saying there was no end to this. Just because we perform the snow sacrament on them doesn't mean Hanzo won't brainwash them into going to another rampage.
Thank you for the hydrant.
And he's a spirit now, meaning there's no point in telling everyone to be careful. Mitsushige and the rest said they'll still have no idea how to still say they have no idea how to defeat him. Yeah.
True. Hearing him describe a situation like that made me want to heave a big sigh, too. When Hanzo first ran amok, Form Folk simply fell asleep after being captured by him. They were glad to see the brainwashing went away on its own once they woke up. That only lasted momentarily before they started going on rampages without warning. Ever since, we've been working hard to perform the snow sacrament on all the Form Folk before they woke up in order to prevent any further rampages. However, only Form Folk had been involved in Hanzo at first, but now Form Folk we already performed the snow sacrament on are starting to go crazy again. This would never end, no matter how many times we purified them.
Look, he's a Form Folk, ain't he?
He is.
These days you can't just walk around with a Form Folk. Who knows what'll happen if he goes crazy?
Uh-oh. There was one other thing bringing my mood down. I was catching snippets of conversations that I never would have expected to hear simply by walking around Edo before. They are now becoming... Is it considered racist? Objects?
I'd rather turn all the Form Folk back into objects, then we can all live in peace.
But they're all sentient beings now. You'll be killing them all.
You wanna genocide all the Form Folk? Ooh. It kind of reminds me of being back in the village where living with Form Folk was banned. With townspeople staring at them and whispering, the Form Folk and his female companion, likely his owner, awkwardly made themselves smaller as they walked around. Hey, Yoichi, do you think Hanzo's trying to threaten us by making all these Form Folk run wild?
Threaten? What do you mean?
He's a spirit. He can go anywhere he wants, except for places with barriers around them. Wouldn't it be so much easier for Hanzo to look for Kuga himself instead of manipulating Form Folk into doing it for him? So why is he doing this?
True. So you think the whole give up Genjuro and stop hiding him thing is an order from Hanzo?
Yeah. Not like we would ever hand him over. That's the absolute last thing I want to do. If all Hanzo wanted to do was find Kuga, his method was terribly ineffective. I figured he must have some other motive.
A lot of humans in town have been saying it must be some kind of grudge or curse from someone Genjuro killed, which is technically true, I suppose.
No, it isn't. Kuga hasn't done anything to Hanzo.
They're still convinced that Genjuro is the one he's looking for, though. Enough about that. Clearly Hanzo's goal is to sow chaos in Edo. Woohoo!
Brrr. Oh, up here. There we go. I'm actually grabbing a plushie. No reason.
But I mean, Blyfall.
Oh, thank you for subscribing! You're awesome. Thank you so much. Ah. Lordy. You didn't have to. I appreciate it. I accidentally skipped that.
But I mean, Blyfall hasn't been spawning more frequently, even though people are all messed up over it. Doesn't it just make sense that Hanzo's involved?
The words rolled off Yoichi's tongue as if he collected his thoughts on this a long time ago. Does that mean the more mayhem there is... Okay. Ooh. Does that mean the more mayhem there is in Edo, the more powerful Hanzo becomes? That would be horrible. Posture check. No more shrimp. No more shrimping. Thank you for the posture check.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. He's a Blyfall with godly powers, after all. Maybe taking all the Form Folk and spreading bad rumors about Genjuro were part of his plan all along. Yay.
I feel like we're always one step behind Hanzo. There was no getting around it. Scooch, scooch. Finding a way to defeat a spirit blightfall like Hanzo, something we had no precedent for, was going to take a long time. It frustrated me that everything aside from battle was going swimmingly for Hanzo, like the rumors about Kuga or people bad-mouthing formfolk. Dang, fair enough. Yeah, I appreciate the subscribe a lot. And all these afterwards, I will eventually upload it to my YouTube too. My single most important duty is to protect the people of Edo in order to make their lives even a tiny bit more peaceful. And yet, defeating Blightfall, protecting the townsfolk's way of life, not being able to do either filled me with unease. I've been running around putting all of my energy into snow sacraments, but essentially accomplished nothing. The power of Christ compels you, the power of Christ compels you, the power of Christ compels you. Kawamura and the others aren't coming. I was kind of hoping they'll tell us they found a way to beat Hanzo today. I guess not. We'll have to send our report to Miyagi's house later. After heading back to the base, I walked down the hallway with Yoichi. Kyoshiro and the others would join us as soon as they made some progress figuring out a way to defeat Hanzo. The fact they are nowhere to be seen meant they were still investigating.
Komame! It's been a while since we seen the buddy!
Oh! Kamame came hurtling. Oh, yeah, because she likes Yoichi. When she heard Yoichi's voice, since I let her run free in my room. The next moment, she was cheerfully nuzzling Yoichi's foot. Alright. Forgot you were living here at the base, not Genjiro's house. Oh, we didn't bring Komame with us. I didn't even notice that. I forgot about Komame. How dare I? Oh, wait. Yeah, they're... Oh, that makes more sense. They're just back here because Kuga's not around. I mean, she doesn't have to live at Kuga's place if Kuga's not even there. And yeah, Hanzo knows where he lives. Yeah, there's no point in guarding it without Kuga around. It's dangerous over there since Hanzo knows where he lives now. Speaking of which, Yoichi was no longer living here at the base. He was back at staying at Yanagi Brewery. To be perfectly honest, I thought he should stay here at the base since we were as busy as ever with the Oniwabon tasks. Say, why don't you come live here again, Yoichi? Yeah, no. You could at least keep an eye on Kuga. You know, it doesn't matter what you say. I can tell you're worried about him. No, I'm not. Yeesh. Hell no. He won't even give me the time of day.
Say, please, live with me. Yoichi.
See, Komami wants you to stay here with us too. I don't think she'll let you leave. Yoichi shot me a thoroughly annoyed look before kneeling down and picking Komame up in the palm of his hand. Fine, I'll watch her tonight. But only because we'll have to be working together all day tomorrow. Yeah, Komame. What? I'll drop the report off at Mitsushige's on my way home later.
What?
While I stood there bewildered, Yoichi took an overjoyed Komami with him and left the base.
That's my bird, goddamn it!
He actually turned me down. I just livelier around the base with Yoichi here, which might cheer Kuga up. I went back to my own room and sighed to myself. With Komame gone, it was the complete opposite of lively. The huge base was even more silent. Well, who knows if that would have even cheered him up anyways. Earlier, I'd been so preoccupied with the idea that Vessels didn't ever feel depressed or that Kuga might actually be annoyed that I was concerned about him. In other words, I didn't see Kuga as, well, himself, as a vessel. As a result, I ended up leaving him to worry by himself for a while. That would have never happened if I had more experience dealing with people. Hi, Turo. That tracks. Welcome. Welcome to the stream and happy Valentine's Day. How are you doing? That would have never happened if I had more experience dealing with people. Really? You're gonna nut here on my stream? That's good. OMG. Thinking about it made me feel so bad for Kuga. I could feel my chest tighten up. But I know how to avoid repeating the same mistake. I'm gonna talk to him. Oh. Your old man stage? Darn. Old. I was like, no you're not, but you are compared to me. It was your birthday yesterday! Happy late birthday, Turo! I didn't know that! You have the same birthday as an ex of mine. Lordy, lordy. A happy late birthday, lordy! I know. Kuga, it's Soup. May I come in? Is there gonna be a CG? Is it romance time? I called out to him since I could see a faint amount of light coming in from his room, but he didn't answer. No problem. We can make it romance. Gosh darn it. God damn it. Excuse me, Kuga. When I quietly opened the sliding... I gently opened the door. I gently opened the door. I gently opened the door. Opened the sliding door. Kuga straightened up on the tatami mat and continued staring intently at his wakizashi. Kuga had been like this ever since Miyagi had told him the story about his old owner. He used to brood like this a lot when he was ordered to stay home at his house. I could talk to him, but he probably wouldn't even notice. Normally he was so sharp, but just standing in front of the door would have alerted him to my presence. Is that a plushie? Nah, it's just a PNG I uploaded. Oh yeah, it could be a plushie if I want. I'm gonna say yes, it is a plushie. That alone. Also, hi Shroomy. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Happy Valentine's Day. Love is dead, so we are living through it. Through Otome. Hi. That alone told me how deep in thought he was, which made me feel very conflicted. Kuga. Ah, Soup. Is that you? Yep. Yes, I'll be quick. I came to give the daily report. Kiyoshiro and the others are still investigating ways to defeat Hanzo, so we don't have anything to share. The daily report is that there is no daily report. Thank you. Okay. Then why would you tell me that? I told him that, first assuming he'd want to know that above all else, but he looked disappointed. He just told me I got news. There is no news. Well, looked might have been too strong of a word. They wanted a quickie. Perhaps it was because I spent more time with Kuga than anyone else since I met coming to Edo. They want to quit, but this is taking longer. Man, I just wanted this to be over and done with. Maybe it was because I've been worrying about him anytime I wasn't focused on work. But there was no way I could miss the nearly imperceptible change in his expression. Ooh, woo! Soup. Suck his baby! Huh? Oh yeah! Yeah? That'll bring up my mood considerably. That brings up the question. Can vessels come? Do not come. Do not come. Whoop. Hello? Before we discuss your report, do you mind hearing me out for a moment? Not that my thoughts are organized enough that I have anything to tell you. Yes, you do, Shroomy. Do the angry pirate. What's that? Is that sounds like something on like Urban Dictionary. What is that? But earlier when you said that I was worried, talking to you helped me understand something inside of me that I found hard to describe. Okay, I'm gonna look that up real quick. Huh! Angry pirate, the act of... At first I started reading this, I'm like, yeah, that's pretty normal. And then I kept reading it. The act of receiving oral sex while standing upright, ending with the receiver not only shooting his sperm rocket into one of the giver's eyes, but also kicking the giver in one of his or her shins, hereby hindering the giver with a peg leg and a defunct eye. Great. Do not get nut in your eyes. It's painful. Don't ask me how. But earlier when you said I was worried. Yeah, make them Talking to you helped me understand something inside me that I found hard to describe. I think I need that right now, so I'd like your help. Get on your knees. Huh? I came here because I wanted to talk to him too. I needed to talk to him too. I never thought I'd hear Kuga said he wanted to talk to me too. Get on your knees. Come on. Go ahead. Go. Do it. You need knee pads? I'm so happy, I think. Or relieved? I don't know why he's saying to get down on my knees. If I had threads around my neck, I'm sure they would be in a very improper color. What is an improper color, Soup? As touched as I was that Kuga needed my support. Yes, I did! You just have a bad memory. I knew I shouldn't get carried away with myself while he was in trouble. Improper soup. Mm-hmm. What is the most improper of soups? Of course I'll help! Can you explain what's going on in your mind just like you did last time? Lentil soup is the most improper. Huh. I steeled both my face and mind in my ass before sitting directly in front of Kuga, obscuring his view of the sword. How do you feel about me? What? Yes! Yes! That's what she feels. Yes! You're right. I don't know, man. My ass, his sword. I immediately let out a hysterical yelp, even though I just braced myself for this conversation. Oh, what do you, mean by that? Do I seem to you, well, anyone... Do I seem like the kind of person who would steal? He's going to drown. When the red rivers are flowing, take the dirt roads home. Do I seem like the person who would steal? Steal someone else's things? You... steal our heart, Kuga, even though I didn't really care for you at first? Yeah. I wasn't sure what he was getting at, which left me feeling even more confused. You're gonna use that same from the... Nice. You would never! You're the sort of gentleman who would give away one of your rice balls even though you only packed 2 for lunch! I just wanted to watch you eat. That's a totally selfish reason. I see. Next question, then. Have you ever thought I was arrogant? Or gotten the sense I would murder you on the street at night while we're walking together if I saw the opportunity? Have you ever gotten the sense that I would murder you on the street at night while we're walking together if I saw the opportunity? I didn't think that before, but now that you're bringing it up, I kind of think you would. Kuga was saying some pretty strange things. They were so strange. I had a feeling I knew exactly what he was worried about. You're talking about Gingoma Nakahori and not yourself, aren't you? So you like,
Am I Gingo Manakahori?
you would never steal. You're not arrogant. And you wouldn't murder me. Absolutely not. I hope not. Because I kind of don't want to be murdered. Right now. Maybe later. I'll let you know. Why are you so worried about that? Gingoma Nakahori was just your owner. You're your own person, Kuga. You know what they say. What do they say, Turo? I knew he's been unhappy this entire time that Hanzo equated him to Akahori, and that the townspeople believed the rumors. I never would have expected Kuga to start acting as if he and Akahori were the same person. If they can't move, they can't resist. Yeah. Great advice. No, it's not great advice. Don't do it. If they're dead, they can't run away. That's true. Oh, Automod actually did something good. Cool. That was a bot. Thank you, Automod. Kuga probably only thought of this because he was worried, but knowing the kind of person he was, it made me incredibly sad as he thought that.
Soup. Were you aware that if someone is particularly attached to an object, the resulting form folk strongly resembles its master?
What?
Form folk are born when an object's soul and owner's love for it combine. It makes sense the owner's personal attachment to the object would impact them as well. Just like the phrase, like father, like son. In which case, wouldn't they also pass down who they are inside, not just their looks? In which case, wouldn't they also pass down what they are inside, not just their looks?
Would they? That would mean... Kuga's doubts about himself weren't completely unfounded. If so, the anguish he felt once he learned more about his owner undoubtedly ran deeper than I ever could have imagined. Of course you would.
You said a few moments ago that I would never steal or murder.
You're good.
Steal or murder.
I know how you are. It's okay. I know how you are.
You said a few moments ago that I would never steal or murder. I lived my life with no intention of doing those things either. However, I worry that it's entirely possible that I might act like Akahori without even realizing it.
Is he gonna... Bro, are you gonna steal and murder? Can I come with? No, really. You would never.
Thank you. But the only reason that side of me hasn't shown itself is that my heart and memories are sealed away. If unleashed, I could just be as villainous as Akahori. It's my lot in life to be discarded if the seal ever comes undone. So there's no need for me to fret over it, still. Either way, I'll allow it.
I bet she's a whore.
Either way, I'm worried that I might stop being myself and not even know it.
I don't know why I squeaked that high, but I feel that. Worry about losing yourself. Gosh darn tootin' right. Kuga murmured this before looking at me. Yeah, gotta make the... Yeah, gotta. Gotta start be like a blue sheep. Kuga murmured this before looking at me, a smile tugging at the corner of his lips.
I knew that talking to you would help me get my thoughts together. I'm not sure what to do, though. I recognize that I'm worried about something, but I have no way to shake that feeling. My earlier dilemma could be solved by defeating Hanzo. Taking him down is the #1 priority regardless, but his disappearance won't fix this problem.
Kuga. This had to be something that only worried him because he was a vessel. Humans didn't even worry about resembling their masters or being otherwise influenced by them. Form folk didn't have their hearts and memories sealed away, so they had no need to worry about what would happen if the seal came undone. Wait a sec, is that true? Didn't form folk, and humans for that matter, also worry about resembling or being influenced by other people? Especially the father-son relationship Kuga mentioned. Kuga, what I'm about to say might not make any sense at all. But do you mind if I shared my thoughts too? Maybe we can think about what's bugging you together?
Would you? That would be reassuring. So what do you think about hearing me? So what do you think after hearing me out?
Kuga and I had completely reversed roles, just like Kuga, who had fumbled for the right words the entire time. I began to talk after careful deliberation. No, don't do that. I keep on accidentally doing it.
Vasa.
I used to worry about something when I was little too. I always wondered why I was like this, even though my father wasn't a mind-reading demon himself.
A mind-reading demon?
Yes, since I could see threads and tell people's emotions, mentioning it out loud made people afraid of me. I wonder why it was me. Thanks to Lord Yoshimune, I now know I inherited my mother's powers, and I've been blessed with opportunities to put into good use. I knew nothing back then, and it filled me with unease. I nearly gave up hope a few times because I figured, what's the use? Still wanted to kill herself. Wait, why am I even talking about this? I only started talking about it before I thought it might lead to something that would solve his problem. Oh, right. What I mean is, maybe Gengo Manakahori isn't the only person you resemble or were influenced by. That's how I felt when I learned I was a member of the Hakuseki clan. My powers were passed down to me from my mother, my grandma, and my grandpa, and older ancestors. Damn, she won't become a martyr, yeah. Like Cardia from Good Realize. I really want to play that on stream one day. Thanks to Tomonari and Tojo coming to get me and being sought out by the Oniwabon, I stopped putting myself down as a monster. And yet, if I'd ever known about the Hakusekis, I probably would have thought I was the only odd one out in the entire world. Finding out my powers had been passed down for a long time was a bit of a relief. It also made me realize my Hakuseki abilities weren't the only thing I inherited.
Not the only thing?
Uh-huh. I don't remember her, but I think I also resemble my mom in ways that aren't just my ability to see threads. I mean, you can perform the snow sacrament. Mimi used to tell me all the time that I was a dead ringer for my dad. My habits, the way I laughed when I was having fun. That's what it means to be family. Before you were you, when you were still just an object, you belonged to Hanzo's dad, right?
Correct.
He nodded, his eyes slightly downcast. Now that he knew Akahori stole him after killing Hanzo's father, the truth must have been difficult for him to swallow.
I'm not a swallower, I'm a spitter, I'm sorry.
Praying that what I was about to say would shift his view on the matter ever so slightly, I continued talking. Tools aren't used by a single person. Some are shared by families, staying in use over several generations. I'm sure you inherited many different qualities from everyone who wielded you with care, including Hanzo's dad and Hanzo himself. What I'm trying to say is, I don't think you need to worry about a single owner you had. Besides, you didn't only inherit your personality back when you were an object. You're who you are thanks to all the people you met and the experiences you had. Yay! Even if the seal in your heart and memories broke, I think you would still be you.
I still feel as I am me.
Everyone in the time starts playing. I look into Kuga's eyes and say this very clearly.
Our situations are different. I'm a vessel and you're a human.
Gah! I worked so hard to communicate my thoughts, but they didn't seem to resonate with Kuga at all.
Your story about your parents and ancestors and me having multiple owners are completely unrelated. True, you're right. However, I can see the similarities between them. You're trying to say that I didn't necessarily inherit everything that's important to who I am. You inherited your Hakuseki powers, but that's not the entirety of who you are. Just like Akahori's existence isn't the entirety of who...
Oliver get hurt. I'm gonna check on him real quick.
Okay, he's fine. He's fine. That's good. He was bothering one of the cats. You inherited your Hakuseki powers, but that's not the entirety of who you are. Just like Akahori's existence isn't the entirety of who I am.
Right! You did inherit some of those things, and they might be important, but they're not everything.
Indeed, you're right. The idea that one part of me determined the sum of who I am is a rather dangerous way to approach things.
Wow! I've done a terrible job of explaining, but Coco was clever enough to fully grasp what I meant.
Fully grasp it. Or is it firmly grasp? That said, I don't think that you and I are anything alike.
Sorry.
Don't apologize. I just can't help but find it odd. Huh? I know I just said this, but your situation feels completely different from mine. And yet, simply knowing you experience the same sort of worries and anxieties I'm dealing with now makes it a little less hard to bear.
Hey, even if your situations aren't like the same, finding like similarities and stuff can help. I thought I completely messed that up, but I managed to help after all. The thought brightened my gloomy mood considerably.
What does this mean then? Is this what people call delighting in someone else's misfortunes? It doesn't strike me as being in terribly good taste.
No. Well, that does happen sometimes, but I wouldn't say they're glad others are unhappy. Just relieved to know that they're not the only ones going through it.
But why? It's not like your problems go away.
Well, if someone else is going through it, it's like it gets like a little bit more motivation. Be like, oh, this other it makes you... It's nice to know you're not alone. Good question. Maybe people are just relieved to know they're not alone. Yeah.
You mentioned that earlier, too.
After thinking silently to himself for a little while, Kuga looked right at me one more time.
Apparently, I'm no better than a newborn when it comes to this. I'm used to interpreting people's emotions, but I'm completely incapable of interpreting my own. You're like my master, giving me guidance. You mean to tell me humans rack their brains like this over every day? Day in and day out, thank you for the hydrate tour.
Another hydrate, thank you. And no more shrimp posture. Thank you. Chug! Ah! I guess so. I definitely think a lot, although you could also say I have a lot to worry about. Bro, a lot of times I can't tell if I'm thinking too much or not at all. Yeah. Yeah.
It must be rough being human. Aren't a lot of problems difficult to come up with an answer for? Like the situation I'm in now or when you were little? What do you do? Set your mind at ease by talking to someone to help collect your thoughts, like now? Listen to others' problems and struggles resembling your own?
Sure, you could do that. Although, that was a pretty blunt way to describe it. He wasn't wrong, but there had to be a more positive method.
Oh, right.
Well, worrying about over the same thing constantly would just wear you down and make you more depressed, won't it?
Yeah, and sometimes it's hard to control. You got obsessive compulsive thoughts that goes over and over and over again in your head. It would indeed.
Since you'll just start worrying about things that never bothered you before, making things even harder. You should just make time to take your mind off things. For example, petting Kamame helps me.
Kamame? You mean the sparrow you've been raising?
Yeah, just holding her in my hand and feeling the warmth of another being is strangely soothing. This is called. I know, right? Like, what? Come to think of it, I remember hugging Mimi and my dad anytime I felt lonely. When I'm not. Fair enough. Also same. Also current. Yeah. Come to think of it, I remember hugging Mimi and my dad anytime I felt lonely or was going through a rough time as a kid. Now, Kamami fills that niche for me. Yeah, I look like staring at my cat Cleo. Like, I looked at her and I was like, you're literally the most beautiful thing in this whole universe. And looking at her makes me so happy that sometimes I want to cry. Now, Kamami fills that niche for me.
I see.
Alright. My explanation seems to be going much better this time. Kuga was listening to what I had to say with great interest. Then, just as I hoped.
Do you mind if I pet Kamame as well?
Oh, of course you. Huh? Why are we flashing? Oh, wait. Nope. Oh, yeah, he took her. Wow, that actually had a plot. Service. I don't know why to see that coming. Ah! Sparrow gone. Guess you have to pet me instead. Yep. Or, no, she said like a hug. What's wrong? Oh, sorry. Yoichi is watching Kamame today. Or tonight. Why today of all days? He never once offered to watch her for me until just now. I found myself resenting Yoichi a bit, although he hadn't done anything wrong. But that was my fault for dragging him over, knowing he didn't want to be here in the first place. So sorry for bringing it up. She'll be back tomorrow.
She will?
Hey! I knew it! Is it going to be a CG? Will it be a CG? CG? Hey, it feels like it's about time for another CG.
She will?
Oh,
she will? Well, if that's all right with you, do you mind if I give you a hug tonight instead?
Huh?
You said you used to hug your father or sister before you had Kamame, right? I mean you mentioned letting Kamame sit in your hand because you can't hug them. For her being a tiny bird.
That wasn't really the point, but I probably ought to be used to this by now, though. Hearing Kuga say things like that always took me by surprise, but I knew he had no underlying motives. She's like, just grabs her ass. Okay. He wouldn't do that, though. I know this in my head, and yet it still makes my heart skip a beat. Wait, now's not the time for this!
We're soothing. We're being soothing. We're helping get his mind off of stuff. Don't pop a boner.
Of course you can! If it'll make you feel a little better, then let's give it a shot! My face was getting hotter every second, but still opened my arms wide to show him I was ready for a hug. Friend hug.
I don't know how to hug. How do I do this?
It was like Kamame the first time she was offered food. Kuga eyed me with caution. Kuga, everything okay?
I never given someone a hug before, so I'm not exactly sure how to. I'm not sure I'll be able to do it right.
Oh, it's okay. I don't mind.
It's my first time. Please be gentle.
Hug easy. CD.
Am I doing it?
He looks like, am I doing this right?
All of a sudden, he closed the distance between us, and I found myself staring at his chest.
When he reached around my back, I could feel his sturdy arms and large hands touching me. Large, yaoi hands. However, that's all he was doing. Honestly, it was more like he was hovering over me. Kuga, are you hugging me? I was extremely close to Kuga's chest, and his hands were on my back, so I feel how warm it was. Am I not doing this right? I'm sorry!
I told you I wasn't sure if I could do it. I'd probably hurt you if I held you any tighter.
Nah, I'll be fine. I told you to, so don't hold back, eh?
Okay.
I could feel his arms flex around our kimonos. What? Okay, this is actually pretty fucking cute. My face was buried into his chest. At this point, my legs were no longer neatly tucked beneath me, Seiza style. I was up against Kuga's knees, sitting cross-legged like him. It made my heart pound. Oh, y'all are sitting? It does not look like y'all are sitting. I thought y'all were standing.
I'm not hurting, am I, Soup? I'm not hurting you, am I, Soup? No. Really? But are you sure? You're out of breath. No, I'm not. I'm just nervous.
But I couldn't bring myself to say it.
Anyway, don't worry, I'm fine. If it hurt, I'd tell you. Okay, please do. Even if it hurts.
Because really, there's no use in giving it any more thought. Although we were touching, Kuga's heart definitely wasn't racing like mine was.
You're warm.
Yeah, you are too, you know?
Actually, you're more than just warm. You're hot. You're hot as fuck, girl. That was probably all my fault. Sorry, should we stop? Are you saying you want to?
Huh? No, that's not what I meant. I just thought you were complaining I was too warm.
It's fine. This seems effective. Your heart is beating very loudly. Being able to tell, it's rather calming. Can you hear my heart beating like that too?
I was so embarrassed I couldn't bring myself to say anything. He seemed to really like it and was just quietly standing there holding me in his embrace. Now they're standing! He's probably feeling pretty warm himself for overdoing this. Besides my heartbeat, it really wasn't beating all that loudly, but he could feel its steady thumping because we were holding each other so tightly. This all started out as a way to soothe his anxiety, but I probably found it more relieving than he did. I knew it. He's no different from me. His heart and memories are just sealed away. No, even the seal doesn't matter when we're together. Kuga probably wouldn't agree with this line of thought since he just got done telling me humans and vessels were different. Still, I only just realized by touching each other like this that his body was warm and his heart made noise when it beat too. My nose was buried in his kimono, which smelled faintly of sweet sweat mixed with incense. When I looked up, I occasionally glimpsed his Adam's apple moving. What I do, I want to keep doing this for as long as possible. I wasn't sure why I felt so heartbroken and frustrated. Kuga would probably marvel if I said I wasn't quite sure what emotion I was feeling right now, even though my own heart didn't have a seal on it.
Kuga? What?
Do you mind if I hug you back? She's just standing. Do you mind if I hug you back? I was so nervous my voice cracked, but I couldn't help that my voice was dry. My throat was dry, so I cleared it a few times to moisten it. And I was like, oh, boy, this is a good time to take a sip of water. And I immediately spilled it down my shirt.
I don't mind.
Kuga's voice was quieter than usual despite how close he was. It made my ears tickle a bit. As nervous as I was, I put my arms around his broad shoulders and gently rested them there, like what he'd done at first. I might just be imagining things, but do I detect him silently trying to tell me that's not quite what I was supposed to do?
I never hugged, but... I guess I'm the hug expert now.
Maybe it really was my imagination. Still, it was also a bit weird of me to get cold feet when I just told him not to hold back. Here it goes! I gave him a squeeze of my arms I just wrapped around him. He silently hugged me back a bit harder than before. That hurts a little. I wasn't sure if it hurt because he was putting too much arm into it or because my heart was beating too fast. I'm gonna have a heart attack. But he pulled away if I told him that, so I silently reveled in his warmth. That was so cute! Why was it so cute?
Valentine's Day.
The next day I got dressed and then walked down to the hallway, rubbing my sleepy eyes. I was so nervous after that I couldn't sleep. Fortunately, that didn't mean I hadn't slept a single wink last night. Still, I was clearly more sleep deprived than usual. Weird, I was nervous the first time I slept in the same room as you. You're still sleeping in the same room as him? No, you went to his room. You stayed with him that night? Weird, I was nervous the first time I slept in the same room as Kuga. When things got hairy in the litter, but I managed to sleep just fine both times. Oh. I read it wrong. My bad. Well, we ended up battling Hanzo immediately after what happened in the litter, so I could chalk it up to having bigger things to worry about at the time. Besides, we had hugged last night. I've probably just been a bit flustered by how long we held each other. Yeah, you from what was described, you hugged for a very long time. It was pretty intimate, kinda. Okay, time to forget about that. Kamami will be back today, so he won't need hugs from me anymore. I was fully aware of how awkward I was still being. That would go away on its own, like it always did once I focused on work. Oh, a hug sounds nice. Right. What's the big deal if Kuga and I run into each other at the base when no one else is? Kamami! Hi! Ah! As I lost my thoughts, so it took me a few seconds too long to even notice Kamami at my feet. Kamami, what happened? I woke up early this morning to pick you up from Yoichi's.
Chai!
Kamami appeared almost gallant as she looked at me. I went to Yoichi's and woke him up. I wanted him to meet us here at the base today. Oh, who's saying that? Oh. I turned around when I heard the voice I knew so well and saw Miyagi, Kiyoshiro, and Yabuta standing there. Behind them was Yoichi, looking even more lethargic than usual, as well as the rest of the Only-Wabon. I only just fell asleep a little bit ago. Well, you jumped out of bed when you heard, right? This finally may be our chance to get back at Hanzo. Oh, of course. Kiyoshiro and the others have been posted at Chiyoda Castle recently. Since they turned up at the base, I assumed something must have changed about the situation. Hearing him put it that way really lifted my spirits. Just then, I heard a flurry of footsteps somewhere inside the base.
Sir, everyone!
Kuga came running down when he heard their voices. I could see in his eyes that he had his hopes up, just like I did. I couldn't tell if he sensed it or if it was just a coincidence, but Kiyoshiro was as calm and composed as ever when he spoke. Genjuro, come to the reception hall with us. But before that, allow me to share how we'll defeat the Spirit Blightfall. That is Hanzo. I'm sure it goes without being said around here, but when form folk become Blightfall, there are two possible ways to defeat them. One is to destroy the object the form folk is based on. The other is temporary, destroying the wooden tag that they need to maintain their physical form. However, neither apply to Hanzo. He's a spirit, so we can't touch his tag even if we can see it. But he can't walk around with the object he came from. He may be hiding the object, but there's no telling if it's in his hometown or turned intangible now. Or turned intangible too. It'd be a difficult search with so many possibilities. Hence, we search for ways to defeat Hanzo the Spirit himself. Hanzo the Father, Hanzo the Son, and Hanzo the Holy Spirit. We concluded that Hanzo's spirit body requires a soul and a form folk body for him to occupy. To put it simply, I dropped my Joy-Con, but it's okay. To put it simply, Hanzo is no different than any normal form folk. He's just spirity, meaning we should be able to rid ourselves of him by slicing the object he was born from. Miyagi's thorough explanation only convinced me for a brief moment before I realized something else and suddenly began to feel nervous. If Hanzo's soul needs to bind to a form folk, does that mean we'll be killing the form folk he's possessing?
What is this drivel? You think we'll do something that heartless? We're going to prepare a temporary container. But, hey, Lumi, welcome to the stream and happy Valentine's Day. How are you doing?
A container?
Exactly. Hanzo's real form doesn't tangibly exist. We're unsure why he's in this bizarre state and didn't cease to exist, but assume it's due to his godly powers. In that case, we'll need to supply him with a wooden tag that has his name carved into it and a container. In other words, the container will serve as his body.
Will be the jar.
If we destroy the container while Hanzo's soul is bound to it, we should be able to subdue him.
Sounds pretty simple when you explain it like that. Won't it be pretty difficult to pull off? Yeah, I'm not so sure Hanzo will obediently get into the container for us. Ugh. We'll carefully construct it to make sure of that. Once the container is complete, we'll explain how to use it in more detail. It'll be a jar, and someone needs to nut into it over and over again. In that case, I volunteer as tribute. That was our plan of action for now. No one in the Oniwabon seemed to have any objections, and they nodded in agreement. Gyuga had simply been quietly watching this go down, but I didn't notice that the hand on his lap was clenched into a tight fist. The day after we decided on a course of action, there was one other gratifying development.
Mitsu!
As soon as Otone invited us in, I ran over to Mitsu, who was just getting out of bed.
It's glad to see you alive.
Soup and Yoichi. Mitsu smiled at Yoichi and I, while Otone propped her up from behind. She still seemed a bit sleepy, but otherwise was well. The snow sacrament we performed on Mitsu while she was sleeping seemed to have worked. Relieved, I asked how she was doing. I'm so glad you woke up. Are you feeling okay? I am. Maybe it's because I've been asleep for a few days, but I feel perfectly fine today. She was in pretty bad shape when she got back, but she doesn't remember a single thing. She doesn't remember anything about kidnapped either. She doesn't. Well, most of the foreign folk who were brainwashed by Hanzo said the same thing. They don't remember anything and just felt like they were asleep. Yoichi was telling the truth, but Mitsu hadn't just been controlled by Hanzo. Hanzo's spirit had taken over and turned her foreign folk body into a blightfall. She had more direct contact with him than any of the other foreign folk who were harmed. Mitsu, I'm sorry to ask you something so taxing after you just woke up, but what do you remember? No matter how insignificant it might seem. What I do remember? My memory is fuzzy, but it happened just after a man I didn't recognize came into our row house. He's a young, battered samurai. Was that when Hanzo came? He would have been himself at that point in time. I feel like I talked to him about something, but after that I don't remember much. Then the samurai disappeared. Really? I guess I can't really blame her for not remembering that part. Do you remember anything else? After placing a hand by her mouth and thinking to herself for a spell, Mitsu began to speak a bit shyly. I'm not sure this has anything to do with it. Afterwards, I had a really nice dream. You're connected to paradise and having a euphoric dream? A dream? Yes. In this dream, I was a boy in a very close-knit family. Maybe I was an egg. Maybe I'm an egg. I had 3 older brothers. I was still a form folk even in my dream. But they all welcomed me into their family like I was one of their own. Yeah, it's Hanzo's backstory. I involuntarily gasped when Mitsu said this. You can't mean... That had nothing to do with it, did it? Only ever had the terrifying dreams when I turned into the Kamikiri. Oh, no, don't worry about it. I want you to tell us everything you remember.
You do? Then...
After that, Mitsu told us everything she remembered experiencing in her dreams. About being held by the boy's mother and father, tears streaming down their faces when he transformed from a tool into a form folk. The happy days he spent being doted on by his 3 older brothers, who treated them like his own little brother. Thank you, Lumi. And thank you for popping in. He treated him just like their own little brother.
To catch up with my brothers, who grew up very quickly. To be accepted by the people who found around me as a member of the family. Every year, no, every month, or maybe even every day, I made slight adjustments to my form and acted human. Right, I definitely remember my family calling me Hanzo.
No, it can't be. What could that even mean? We're hardly comparable, but the crimes Hanzo had committed that were much more serious in the Kamakiri. But instead of seeing something horrifying or Blightfall-esque, the people Hanzo assimilated with could only remember when he had been happy. He had been happy. Ooh. Didn't that prove Hanzo's heart was still filled with love for the family he lost? That's why he wants revenge! But he was covered in so many negative emotions, they were practically pouring from him. Realizing all over again that Hanzo's fiercely held grudge came from such an earnest, pure place left me speechless. Kuga must have been in Hanzo's happy memories too. But Kuga wasn't family to Hanzo. He only saw Kuga as the adversary who robbed him of everything he treasured, the person he used every trick in the book to kill.
Oh, I just remembered something as I was talking, yay.
Nisa had been recounting her happy dream with a spellbound look on her face until this point, then began to speak like she had come to her senses.
Just before I faded out of consciousness, I heard a voice that sounded a lot like myself. In my dream, like that form folk boy. I remember exactly what he says. Smells like a Blightfall. A Greek container.
Nani? After leaving the row house where Otane and Mitsu live, Yoichi and I hurried back to the base to tell everyone. The additional information Mitsu had provided us was as follows. Mitsu had been targeted because she was a form folk who had morphed into a Blightfall herself in the past. Hanzo appeared to have successfully swapped containers the moment he encountered Mitsu, but it had taken time for him to completely take over her consciousness. Apparently, Hanzo had said all of this himself. So that's why his tracks stopped there. I guess form folk who share a connection to Blightfall are better equipped to use his powers when we fought him earlier. The only thing is that my new powers are so potent, it's hard to find a container to make proper use of them, but it's a very minor nitpick. That's what he said at the time. Yes. With some thought, I could probably guess why he had chosen Mitsu instead of another form folk too. But with our attention already split between the berserk form folk and Edo, which was taking a turn for the worse as a result, we were one step behind Hanzo yet again. No, it's not too late. Since our last battle, Hanzo had been using form folk to throw Edo into further chaos, yet he hadn't done anything himself. Seemed like he still hadn't found a new container to replace Mitsu. Unable to contain my impatience, I said something to Yoichi as he walked ahead of me. Yoichi, who do you think he'll target next? Mitsu is the only form folk who turned into a Blightfall, and at this point I don't think Hanzo would possess form folk who can't fully manifest his powers.
Form folk who smell like Blightfall aren't just the ones who turn into Blightfall themselves, you know.
Huh?
Could be form folk who were contaminated after coming into contact with Blightfall, like Miharu, who fainted after being overwhelmed by emotional imprints.
The moment I heard Yoichi said her name, I grabbed him by the arm and took off running. Oh, Miharu's gonna be in trouble now.
Well, hold on. Are we gonna give our report?
I need to make sure Mimi's okay first.
Oh, good point. Okay.
Oh. Yoichi wriggled out of my grasp and ran ahead of me to the tea stall where she worked. But I started running before he did. As grateful as I was that he'd get a As grateful as that I was, he'd get there a little sooner. Watching Yoichi get farther away in the blink of an eye, even though he was so lethargic moments ago, made me painfully aware that I needed to train more. Whee!
It's terrible. Absolutely terrible. Everyone's been giving me weird looks just for being a form folk, so I can't walk around with my wooden tag out. The owner of his tea stall trusts me, so I'm fine. So I'll be fine. Some people have been really mean and complaining just because he lets form folk work here, though. I don't want to cause the shop trouble, so I've been working here in the back. It's nothing short of cruel for a pretty face who should be bringing in customers.
So you know you pretty.
Is that sorry.
Shut up. We come running to the tea stall out of concern that something could be happening to Mimi right that second, but was relieved to find things surprisingly peaceful. It's sad that she can't do her normal job and all, but although she obviously had a lot of pent-up anger, she began complaining the second she saw me. There were no signs of Hanzo, and she seemed just fine.
I feel a little better after talking to you. By the way, why'd you swing by today? I don't often see Yoichi with you.
Oh. I promptly looked over at Yoichi when she asked this question. Do I tell her someone might be after her? I was on the fence, so I waited for Yoichi to make a move. Nope, I didn't really need anything. She just wouldn't stop nagging me about stopping by to see you. You bitch.
Oh, was she now?
Yeah.
I'm starving. Gonna go eat somewhere else since dango probably won't be enough. I'll catch back up with you when I'm done eating.
With that, Yoichi shot me a brief but meaningful look before walking back outside. He was fibbing just now. I guess that means I shouldn't talk to Mimi about Hanzo. I couldn't say exactly where Yoichi was heading, but it looked like he had gone toward Samurai Town. Maybe he left to give our report? Not sure. But I should stay here and hang out with Mimi until he gets back. Again, the chapters were so long! I was worried I wasn't strong enough to take Hanzo, but he wouldn't go out of his way to target her while I was around. I could at least help Mimi get away.
So you're here to see me, Soup? Were you worried about me?
As those thoughts ran through my head, Mimi asked me a question. He had a much gentler look on her face than when Yoichi had been around. It was more sisterly than her usual expression. The one I only ever saw when it was just us two. I'm glad, though. I won't really have to lie to her after all. Uh-huh. I have a lot going on right now. And I've been so busy lately that I haven't seen you for a while.
What are you talking about? Don't worry your pretty little head about that. I know you had your hands full. Weird rumors starting going around not long after you became Kuga's servants. At first, farm folk are going missing, but now they're going berserk. It feels like forever ago that things were so peaceful, and I was telling you to think about what you'd do once your job was done.
We totally did talk about that, didn't we? Come to think of it, the tea stall was where she recommended working for Kuga. It ended so quickly, I never had time to get used to my job as a servant, though.
See? I haven't given up on that. Once things calms down, you should try volunteering to be his servant again. I don't mind taking in Komame for you again if you need me to. Oh, so she had Komame. Gotcha. Although, wouldn't it be lovely if you, Kuga, and Komame all lived together? Like one big, happy family.
That reminds me, Mimi did take care of Komame while I was living with Kuga in his manor. Come to think of it, she'd been a huge help during a crazy time. She'd taken care of Komame for me, and even when the other townsfolk were sad because they believed terrible rumors about Kuga, she never believed them for a second.
How's Kuga been lately? I assume he can't go back to work yet, but I'm sure you still see him sometimes.
Huh? Yeah. Actually, we're currently living together at the Only One base.
What? But that's...
Oh, it's kind of an extension of me guarding him like before. There are other people there, too. When we summoned them all to the base anyway, we haven't been sleeping together in the same room the entire time or anything like last time. I wanted to add a few more details, but let them out because I had a feeling it would be too much of a shock for Mimi, who thought Kuga was a completely normal man.
Well, I see. I had no idea. You can relax a bit too, then.
Relax?
You've been worried sick about him. When form folk were disappearing left and right, you talk about him every time you stop by the stall while doing your rounds.
Oh. She was right. I was worried about Kuga back then because he was acting differently, and was also frustrated I couldn't do anything to help him. But now... Maybe it was conceited of me, but I definitely felt a lot closer to Kuga than I had been before. Yeah, I was. Lately I've been able to talk about all kinds of things with him. I might not be much help to Kuga, but it's a relief just getting to be close with him.
Soup. I'm surprised. He must mean a lot to you.
Yeah. Wait, huh? What? I mean a lot to me? He's my friend and he's done so much for me. Of course he means a lot to me.
Obviously, yes, of course. But what is it about Kuga that makes him mean so much to you? When did it start? And did something start it?
Somehow I feel like she's talking about something else. She's the shipper, you know she is. After her barrage of questions, I gave Mimi a thorough account of everything that's happened between us so far. Mimi, forgive me. Concealing all this info, I couldn't tell her as a member of the Oniwa I couldn't tell her as a member of the Oniwa Bond was exhausting, but we only talked about things I'd be embarrassed for other people to know.
But something's not quite adding up. I can't just believe someone as serious as Kuga will act that way.
Mimi's impression of Kuga had taken a strange turn since I couldn't reveal he was a vessel.
Oh well, as long as you're fine with it. Although you're of marrying age. Anyway, I'm not gonna let a hug slide just because he finds it soothing. Ask Komame instead.
Okay, I get it, but I'm fine. He's a decent guy.
I believe you, but I don't think you think it was a little amateurish of him. Maybe that's why he's been single all this time. Do you think he has a touch of autism?
Kuga, I'm sorry. I thought to myself, hanging my head because I felt bad, then... Soup, he's here to pick you up. I turned when I heard a tea stall owner's voice and saw Yoichi standing at the entrance. Hey, Yoichi. Sorry, Mimi, I gotta go.
Gotcha. Well, it was great having a nice long chat with you, thanks to Yoichi taking his sweet-ass time.
Personally, I wish he'd come back a little sooner. Even if he actually did go out to eat, he'd still been gone for a while. He must have been setting things up to take care of Mimi after we left.
Hold on a sec, Soup. You're investigating all the form folk going berserk, right?
Huh? Yeah, I am.
It has something to do with all the disappearances too, doesn't it? Is it also the work of a Blightfall?
I was so unsure of how to answer her question, I found myself at a complete loss for words. She immediately grasped what I was going through my mind and shook her head from side to side.
It's fine. You don't have to tell me anything you can't talk about. I was just worried because I was scared of being attacked too. And I feel terrible for any other form folk going through that.
Mimi.
Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to tell you guys to work harder or anything.
Yeah, it's okay. I understand what you're trying to say. Blyfall had harmed her during the Kamakiri case, so she must secretly have been beside herself with worry seeing the public unrest in Edo and form folk in danger. As concerned as I thought I'd been for her, I regretted not worrying more. Even though she never shown it because of how tough she was, she must have been feeling incredibly anxious. Well, I can't tell you the details, but this one's different from the Blightfall that attacked you. Even if we don't take it down, we can't heal affected form folk.
Huh? Really now?
Since the form folk associated with Hanzo were made part of him instead of being contaminated, they should return to normal if we can just put a stop to it. It was slightly different from what happened to Mimi, who was bound by a cocoon of black threads after being contaminated by the Kamakiri. I couldn't explain all of that to her, though. Fortunately, what I had said seemed to have put her a bit more at ease. I'm just trying to find a good stopping point, because my voice is getting tired at this point. I'm glad, really I am. She said this while giving my hand a tight squeeze. But be careful out there, Soup. Foreign folk might be still in danger right now, but nothing would hurt me more than seeing you harmed. I could tell by the look in her eyes that she meant what she said without even having to check the threads around her neck. I squeezed her hand back before walking over to Yoichi.
Bleh, I wanted to try to finish the chapter, but I don't think I'm gonna do that. I think I'm gonna save it here.
Lordy, did we we didn't even have any choices this time. God. That was a lot. Ugh. I'm tired of talking. So I'm gonna go to bed. Thank y'all. All who listened in and stuff, I appreciate it very much. Again, happy Valentine's Day, and I love and appreciate each and every one of you. You're all very special to me. You know, keep me motivated to keep going. So yeah. So I hope you have a great night, or whatever time it is for you. And I'll see you next time. Bye. I need to see you. Bye.